To a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour live on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sitsuti along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
What up?
And yes, I did wait until he was actually taking a drink to
did.
say his name.
Of course he did. I knew it was coming.
And we have wearing his playoff Flyers shirt ready to go. It's crush time, baby. The broken one, Rob Povia.
We are one day closer to August playoff hockey. Let's go!
But you know what today is, though? I know it has nothing to do with the show. It is opening day for baseball, baby. Let's go!
Sports bonanza time. That's what it's time for.
Live sports are back, baby. Let's do this.
Hockey, NBA, MLB, all leading into football. It's going to be a bonanza. We're all going to get ADHD.
I already have it.
Oh, boy. It's going to be crazy, man. The schedules are going to be packed in terms of, just for one sport. I have everything put in my calendar, and it's packed for the day. Imagine being someone who's watching baseball, basketball, and hockey all rolled up into one.
Well, I'm not going to watch basketball. I'll keep an eye on basketball, but I won't actually watch it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's probably going to wind up being the Lakers who win the title anyway.
Don't say that, because then you're just feeding into Ralphie. Don't do that.
Well,
don't do that. He's got enough issues as it is.
What? Ralphie is a great supporter here of the show. I want to give him a little love. Okay, is that such a big deal?
I love Ralphie. Ralphie's a fun dude to talk sports with, and he does a great job on all the shows that he does. But we can't have anybody feeding on his Laker love. We can't. We can't do it. It's not allowed.
Speaking of the fam, what's up, Ritz? Saying sup, fam. Daly knows this is a hockey show, right? That's the wrong thing in his hands. Someone get that man a puck.
All my pucks are in cases, brother. I'm not going to break one out. This is the only one I got. And there's significance to this baseball. I was talking to these guys off the air. Back when A2D first started, so many years ago, we did high school sports as well. We would do Bishop Eustace and King's Christian baseball.
Yep.
So my first broadcast, it was probably like the week after Tom hired me. We did a baseball game at Bishop Eustace, and I found this baseball. So this baseball is significant. It's from my first broadcast with HUD doing live base high school baseball with Bishop Eustace, and I even got to do a little bit of color commentary, which, looking back, I did a terrible job. But nerves and all, but it is what it is. But yeah, this baseball has significance. This is Bishop Eustace baseball for my first broadcast.
Now my memory is a little fuzzy there because I was most likely producing that game. But
yes, you were.
Were you working with Zach doing the play-by-play, and you were stepping in on color that day, or was it Tom?
Zach was running late for some reason. Tom started on the play-by-play, and he went through like 2 innings or something like that. And he's like, "Bri, just jump on with me, man. Like, just see what you got. Just give me somebody to talk to." So I'm like, "Okay, all right,
sure.
I think I can handle this."
What's a baseball?
Well, at that point, yeah, I was just kind of like, "All right, let me just at least try to sound smart." And that's the best thing I said was, from my memory was, this pitcher seems to be, he's got that tall length to him. So that means he's got that long stretch, when he comes to that plant foot. So he's reaching out so he can get a little more torque on his pitches. So something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, that's
big baseball day. Big baseball day for you, Mr. Daly. You're
Absolutely.
So excited. It's like it's like letting a kid loose in a candy store.
Just wait till August 1st.
I'm
sure.
I
have both. I'm really gonna be out of control.
So we are brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Listen, man, life is full of surprises, and every once in a while you get a pain every once in a blue moon. If you're doing some physical labor or if you have some stress going on, you're either going to have some physical ailments or you're just going to be stressed out of your mind. Well, there is a place to go to relieve all of that, and that is visiting Specialized Physical Therapy. Dr. Paul Vidal, he'll take care of you. You can find him at Burlington, Princeton, and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and you can make an appointment at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Take care of yourself, and don't worry. Once you visit him, you won't have any more of those aches and pains. Specialized physical therapy. All right.
Also, check out PhillyDrinkers.com. Get all your A2D merch there. T-shirts, hats, stickers. Fans of the Hockey Happy Hour, get a Hockey Happy Hour T-shirt. Support the show. Support the station. PhillyDrinkersLLC.com. They got all kinds of stuff there. Tumblers, just out for the summer. A2D board shorts, just out for the summer. So get your hands on those before they go away. PhillyDrinkersLLC.com, baby. We love Alex and what he does for us and love the support. And so we've got to support him as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get your A2D merch there.
And he puts out great products. Like, the product is great. Like, I love this T-shirt. It fits great. Hat's awesome. Like, that's the hat. I don't
Greg,
think I've taken
you got to put up Joe's comment. It's fabulous.
I don't think I've ever taken the hat off since I got it.
Even when you shower?
Even when I shower.
Okay, interesting. And Joseph saying, the Seattle Krakens. I was hoping for the Seattle Tsunami, but now they're the Kraken. The fans can be called the Crackheads, and the arena can be called the Crack House. Oh, man. They did that. I wish they would. Good. I wish they would. No, they won't.
Yeah, they will. They'll do it.
And Prism, Chris Pronger's best buddy in the whole wide world, saying, I got a 4-year-old refusing to go to bed. Ooh.
So let him stay up and listen to us. It's great.
It's like her bath woke her the fuck up.
Keep the F-bombs down. I'll keep them down for you, Priz.
Yeah, what's up, Trevor? I saw Eileen in there somewhere.
Hey, Trevor. Yes, and hi, Eileen.
Say hi, Eileen.
And Prism was saying, Don, Dave, Darkwing, Pove, me, giving a shout out to everybody with some cheers throwing around in the comments.
Don't forget Gritty. Where's Gritty this week?
Oh, yeah. And where is Gritty this week? By the way, folks, we have our Twitter poll up. And the question is, since we are going to be talking about... Okay. Since we're going to be talking about the NHL Exhibition Games, wanted to throw out the question of, is the NHL Exhibition Games important for the players? Agree or disagree? For me, I think it is important. It's good for them to shake off the rust. Yes, they have been doing the training camps, but nothing like having an actual game just to kind of shake off any kind of ends there. For the coaches to say, okay, this line's doing well, this line's a little shaky, maybe need to mix that up a little bit here and there and see what goalies are doing which, basically, at this time.
I agree with Maddie. I agree with the poll. I think the exhibition games are important to an extent for the same reasons you said. Gives the players the chance to really shake off some of that rust. Because you can only do so much when you're playing scrimmages against each other. To be able to get out there, mix it up, start hitting some guys. It really gets the guys going. It gets the juices flowing. Gives coaches the opportunity to really look at some of these players and be like, all right, maybe this line's not working. Let's try this one in the second period. This defensive period is not working. Let's try this one in the second period. And it's an opportunity to get these guys going, get the legs going, get them back and ready for game shape. It is only one game. So for the top 4 seeds on each side, it doesn't really matter. The next 3 or 4 games after the exhibition games, kind of exhibition anyway. So it's more to get the juices flowing for the guys that are sitting in seats 5 through 12.
Yep, that's exactly Joe commented in before and made that point. Agreed with you, Brian. I would normally, that was my first instinct as well, but I think it's so important for those top 4 seeds because there's something on the line, even in those exhibition games that they'll be playing in that 3-game round robin, and that's for seeding. Now, mind you, without fans, there's a little less onus on terms of home ice versus non-home ice. But you still have last change, things that we've talked about on the show before that will, certainly matter if you finish 1 to 4. So I think it's good that everyone gets one game, really get a chance to rebuild that momentum and enact what they've been practicing here so far in their summer camps.
Rob, to your point, which I agree on for the most part. I was listening to another podcast earlier this afternoon while I was mowing the lawn, and I'm going to leave the name of the podcast nameless for a couple different reasons, but they were talking about, how not having the fans is going to affect home ice. Well, they were saying that a lot of these teams are bringing stuff with them. So like Nashville's going to be bringing a couple different country artists to sing the national anthem. Same with a bunch of other teams. They're going to be bringing the national anthems of their arenas' anthem singers. They're going to be bringing recordings of like certain team slogans, like Washington Capitals rock the red, Nashville Predators gold theme, whatever you want to call it. So they're going to personalize each and every home game to what these teams are usually accustomed to.
It's gonna be interesting though, because unless they change the middle insignia, it's just gonna have Toronto Maple Leafs or Edmonton Oilers, but it's gonna be all Nashville up or something like that. But that's kind of intriguing when
I'll
you
be
think
honest,
about it.
I don't even know if they're going to even have those logos in the center. They may just have the NHL logo in the center of both things, because he did take the ice down in all the arenas once they made the shutdown official.
That's true. That's true.
So
Bring back up Eileen's comment. There, she had two there a couple of seconds ago.
that's all I asked what the question was.
Yeah, and she's saying, "You guys rock, love y'all." Thanks, Eileen.
Love you too.
And then,
Preach.
And Pronger's best buddy saying, "So we did our scores at work for y'all's draft. We did them in two different lists. First 5 years, second 5 years. Only one team got a 90 or above for both lists. Overall, two teams tied for first overall average."
Let's go. I know who got 90. Let's do this.
Did he tell you? He hadn't told me yet. He told me that the countless hours he had to put into the system, he had to go recruit some help. This is what I love about our fans. This is what I love.
You gotta love it.
I love it.
And Eileen saying, agreed for the teams going into the playoffs. So she was saying that and agreed to the full question.
Yeah, I agree to it wholeheartedly. There's too much positive going into it.
How can you disagree with it? Can you say, well, it's maybe increasing exposure time to the virus? That's the only counter argument you can put, that you want to limit the amount of potential contact, being that unlike baseball, it's much more in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at it that way, but I mean, yeah.
Okay.
More positive than negative.
Yeah.
So, with that is the poll question that we have. Feel free to throw in your comments as you continue throughout the evening watching the broadcast. But now we are going to dive into the exhibition game schedule that we have here that the NHL is going to bring. Prism said first 5 years, Matt 93, Brian 90, Pove 88, Tom 88. Last 5 years, Pove 94, Tom 93, Brian 93, Matt 89. So I basically win at first, and then I start to slowly decline. Overall team average, Pove 92, Brian 92, Matt 91, and Tom 90 and a half. Okay, Tom gets. I love how that we have a 90 and a half in the at the back end. That just makes me laugh a little bit.
Oh wait, which way?
I'm not gonna lie.
Wait.
Okay.
Okay. Boom. There we go.
Overall, that's that. Okay, gotcha. All right then. Yeah. So I could see that. I can totally see that. All right then. So that is that's the results of our draft from the current one.
Go.
But hey, Prism, you might want to keep that help handy at you, buddy, because we're going to be doing other drafts. Not at this moment. We got present matters to attend to, but once the playoffs are all said and done, before the draft, the actual draft, we'll probably be doing early 2000s and 90s and such like that. So keep your eyes open, buddi.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the 90s, baby. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Right in your wheelhouse.
I probably can't wait either. 90s, there's a lot of talent in that 90s pool.
All right. So with that, on to the exhibition game schedule. Who would like to announce it? Because I have it up. I know Rob's got it up. Brian, did you have it up or no? Okay.
Nope.
Rob, I think you should do the honors.
But real quick, when did Carrot Top start pitching for the Dodgers?
Dustin May. Yeah. Oh, dynamite DK fucking pivot to Dustin May. Bring me the catch, baby. Bring me the fucking catch. Let's go. Yeah, I'll read it off, man. I could definitely do that. Starting Tuesday, July 28th, you have the Toronto Maple Leafs at the Montreal Canadiens at 8 Eastern, and the Oilers versus the Calgary Flames at 10:30 Eastern time. Then on Wednesday is the Bonanza 4 games starting at noon. Tampa versus Florida. 2:30 sees the Avs versus the Wild. St. Louis, yeah, that's a good exhibition right off the bat, right? I like this one too. Blues versus Blackhawks at 6:30.
Yeah, I like that too.
A lot of rivalry matchups.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, you figure too, location. Well, no, never mind. Hub City. I'm getting my sports mixed up, baseball and hockey there. And then at 10:30 Eastern, you got the Canucks versus the Jets. And then on Thursday, July 30th, they're going to have Nashville versus Dallas at 4, Boston versus Columbus at 7, and last but not least, Vegas Golden Knights versus the Arizona Coyotes at 10 Eastern. So that's a good melee of games leading up until into the qualifiers for sure.
Well, I think they did the scheduling on purpose, so I don't think any of the qualifiers really play each other. I think they want to keep the qualifiers away from each other until.
Yes, sir.
And
so,
the one.
Well, here's the first couple games of the qualifiers on August 2nd. In August playoff hockey, which is gorgeous. You're gonna have the Blue Jackets, Toronto, non-matchup. Jets, Flames, Dallas, Vegas Knights. Both of those games on the 3rd at 2:30 and 6:30 respectively. August 4th, you got the Coyotes versus Nashville at 2:30. Calgary versus the Jets at 6:45, and then August 5th. A lot more Western. You're seeing a little bit more Western to start off here. Or maybe they're because you got the one series, the Blue Jackets and the Maple Leafs. That's obviously from the East, but the rest starting off very West heavy there. Completed with the Avs versus Dallas at 6:30 on August the 5th.
And in case anybody was wondering, Joe did bring up that the Flyers are playing at 3 Central Time, which means 4 here on the East. They are playing on the 28th against the Pens. They will start the day out on that particular evening. That should be fun, having the Flyers and Pens, the Battle of Pennsylvania, in an exhibition matchup. Which is weird because usually in the preseason the Flyers play the Caps and the Islanders. They never really face the Penguins. But
they'll get them for 1 or 2 games.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Roscoe was saying, I am so ready to see St. Louis in an NHL 24 team format.
Wait for your other 24 comments. I'm ready for this team and 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 this team. I'm expecting. Ready for the Panthers. Ready for the Coyotes. Ready for the Kings. Kings aren't even in it, David. Oh, it's okay. I'm still ready for them.
Ready
well,
for
how about the Ducks?
Pick a team. Let's go. Come on, David.
I'm ready for the Kraken. Okay, guys. So that's the exhibition schedule.
Let's go.
That's the exhibition schedule for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Before we get round 1 started off with in the qualifiers and the round robins that will be in, of course, the Flyers will be in the round robin. They will be facing off with Boston, Washington, and Tampa Bay. Those will be the opponents that we will have before we start our playoff run in the quarterfinals, and we'll find out where we will be seated through those round robins like all the other teams there. With that being said, though, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here and going around the NHL and stuff that affects the Flyers, stuff that affects the league, stuff that affects all kinds of stuff here. So why don't we get started with the one that is the most obvious?
The big one.
Yes, officially, there is now our 32nd team has a name. Welcome to the NHL, the Seattle Kraken. The first ever time that there is a Seattle team in the NHL. And yes, that is true, because when there was a Seattle team that won the Cup, it was in a different league at that time because it was a challenge.
It was 1917, I believe, too.
Yep.
So they already have a Stanley Cup. So.
They do, from the Seattle Metropolitans way back in the day. They played for the PCHA, the Pacific Coast Hockey Association.
Well, from what I understand, the logo, which is a major S. Frank, you want to pull that up real quick? they are paying homage to the Metropolitans with the form of that S in some type of way.
Yes, because the S was the main logo for the Metropolitans, and it had that sort of similar design, just not as tight edged. And what I didn't notice before, until I got a closer look, I saw the I, but I never realized the one little part of the S is actually a tentacle, which is actually really, really cool.
That is cool.
Oh yeah, that is. I like that.
Yeah.
Also, if you notice in the anchor, if you look up towards the top of the anchor, you see the Sky Needle in Seattle. So they're paying homage to not just the
that is cool
past.
too.
They're paying homage to the city as well. So they're doing it in different ways. I think the NHL, no pun intended, because it's opening day for baseball. They hit this one out of the park as far as pretty much everything went.
They did, and
Hi, Frank.
hello. I popped in out of nowhere while the Seattle Kraken stuff was going on.
He did
But,
that on purpose.
by the way, fam, give Frank some love here. He's been producing today. He produced Lazy Booking earlier, and he is producing our show tonight. And he does produce during the week for A2D. So
I do.
Anyway.
Oh, my apologies. I definitely called you Brodo earlier. Definitely thought it was Brodo. I'm sorry.
All good.
It's okay.
All
They
good.
look a lot alike. You put those next to each other, they could be twins.
Yeah, we're identical twins.
Well, it's not even that. He responded like Brodo usually does, so I assumed it was Brodo. Usually I can tell who everybody is by the way they respond to me.
Now you just give Brodo ammunition. If he's watching this, he's going to pose as Frank
for
a period of time.
You can have
He
the
probably
movie
is.
remake of Twins, but instead it'll be Justin Bieber and Joey Fatone. That would be them.
That's great.
Oh, that's a good one. But yeah, it was really cool though seeing that earlier today. Getting a chance to look at them. Color scheme is interesting. They didn't go for like the Metropolitans back in the day. They actually had a green, red, and white color scheme, but they decided to go a white, powder blue, navy blue kind of look to them. And it's actually really cool with the jerseys and how it all kind of blends together.
I actually like the double blue.
Me too.
I'm a sucker for double blues in uniforms and all that, but they really did a great job. It's not over the top ridiculous. It's nothing like. I'm just glad there's no monsters jumping out of the ice sinking boats. None of that silly hokey stuff. But I really like the design. I think they did a great job with the branding and everything for the Kraken.
Which do you like better, the home or the away? Which do you guys like better?
I'm kind of fond of the road jerseys more than the home.
I think I'm more on the home side of things. I really like the way the blue fits in, but then again, when the Capitals had that sort of teal logo with the I love that when they had the full blue on the jersey with the eagle and they had Capitals written down on the diagonal thing. That was a really cool jersey back in the day. I kind of get the same vibe here with that kind of look. It's very, very I wouldn't say muted, but it's very modest, and it's like it's really, really cool having the idea of having blue on blue.
I see more of the Winnipeg Jets look to the home jersey.
Yeah,
I see that too.
Definitely that little.
Another team that reminds me of, with the Blue Jackets and the Cannon uniforms they used to have.
Yes,
I got some Blue Jackets vibes from it too, but I definitely dig the white. I
dig the white. I think. They've released what the gloves are going to look like as well. On I think it was Bar Down on their Instagram page, and some of those designs look pretty sharp as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean overall, I think they've done a great job. I like who they hired to be their GM.
Yeah.
And I like what their Twitter page is already starting to put out. So I'm gonna
figure out ways to draft your players or something.
Yeah, I got the exact quote, and I got a couple things here. So obviously first. GM in Seattle history is going to be Hockey Hall of Famer Ron Francis, who I think can do a really good job of putting a really strong team together for Seattle.
Had positions like that before where he's done really good jobs in.
Yep. Still don't know who the coach is going to be yet. Obviously, that's going to be a little while before they hire.
Right.
Rumored to be Mike Babcock is the favorite, but obviously Gerard Gallant still an option out there. And Peter Laviolette, who I think should be The only three guys you really strongly consider. But
Joe
here's the
agreeing
thing.
with you, Brian, on the white jerseys.
Love it. Love it. So with the way that Vegas had success after the expansion draft, do you guys have any big expectations for this team?
Well, here's my way of looking at it. I think what happened with Vegas was so unique and it was so special that it's kind of hard to duplicate something like that. I don't necessarily think they duplicate that. I think their first year, if they draft properly, I think they'll be feisty. They'll be a tough team to deal with at first, but I think they'd be a bubble team. I think that they could get in on a wild card, but I honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't see them doing what Vegas did. I don't see them coming right out of the gate and just shocking the world and winning a division title and going to the Stanley Cup Finals. That'd be crazy if 2 expansion teams in a row did that. I would be absolutely stunned, because you also got to think, GMs, they now got to be thinking in the back of their head, okay, Las Vegas almost burned a lot of people by getting a lot of players that we did not protect and we didn't think much of, and they made something out of nothing. I think they might think a little bit. They might think twice before they put somebody on an unprotected list.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
I
so.
mean-
It all depends on who's unprotected going into this draft. I mean, Vegas. I mean, they definitely took advantage of who got unprotected, and many people thought this team, that Knights team, was going to be absolutely terrible. And of course, they made that unprecedented run to the finals. So for me, we got to see with the unprotected list.
Well, I mean, obviously, keep in mind you only can protect so many players. I believe it's 7 forwards, 4 defensemen, 2 goalies.
And I don't think Vegas has to give up any players either, if I recall correctly.
I don't think they do. I think they're exempt from this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you got to go into this thinking, well, if they do the same thing Vegas did, blah blah blah, they're gonna have a bigger cap than Vegas. Vegas had, I believe, it's going up to 81.5 from last year. So I think that's going to play a huge part. Like I said, you can only protect certain players, so you got to think about, all right, who's a priority? Who are we going to continue to build around? Who's our biggest pieces? Who can't we afford to lose? I think for the Flyers, I don't think you protect Gostisbehere. I think you see Gostisbehere head over to Seattle.
That's very possible.
I'm going to start the speculations.
Yeah. I could totally see that happening. I could totally see us say, you know what, we've given Ghost opportunities. He hasn't panned out here. Maybe a change of scenery is what he's needed, and maybe he'll do well in an expansion team. That's the possibility there.
And with the available cap space and the expansion of the cap space, I think this gives Seattle a really good opportunity to really start looking into bigger players. Obviously, Vegas didn't have huge players going into their first season. Nate Schmidt was one of their better players. They drafted William Karlsson, who ended up having like 52 goals that year. Wound up going to the Stanley Cup Finals. They were able to get a Hall of Fame goaltender in Marc-Andre Fleury, which I don't think you're going to see many of those goaltenders available in this expansion draft. But if they
players in general this time around,
I think you're going to see. You're going to see big names go unprotected, and they're obviously going to have to take a look.
I read an article recently that this, for their expansion draft in comparison to Vegas's, speculating on what team, all 31 teams, who they would protect. There's less meat available in this time than when Vegas drafted, because you go back to Vegas. The only disagreeable point I'll have with you there, Brian, they had a lot of meat in that draft, and they drafted very well in that expansion draft.
And I think they can still do well enough, with the players that they're going to have as well. Because, like I said, Ron Francis is a smart guy.
Well, for example, another team that I would say may give up something to him, Pittsburgh. They might take Malkin. And I only say that because Malkin's only got a year left on his contract. They may want to think about future. And because they're only getting older, Crosby, his scoring touch is not what it used to be. But he's still a great assister, though. He's still one of the best assisters in the game. Thing is, that happened to Gretzky. His scoring touch slowly started going away, and he became more of a disher than a goal scorer. So I think you might have to think about that in the near future, where it's just like, okay, maybe Pittsburgh's thinking long term now. Dump Malkin, keep Crosby, see if you can get some young guys around him so he can start getting them ready for the future.
Well, the problem with that, Maddie, is you don't want to give up a guy like Malkin and get nothing in return for him.
But that's the
If
thing,
you're
though.
going to give up on a guy like Malkin, hold on. If you want to give up a guy like Malkin and you want to go into that rebuild phase that you're talking about, start thinking about the future, you want to trade a guy like Malkin. So maybe your scenario isn't completely far-fetched in the fact that maybe they trade Malkin to Seattle and get something in return, but I don't see him being available for the draft.
Well, that's the thing, though. You don't know. It's a very possibility that they could try and make him available. It's a possibility where they could say, okay, we won't protect Malkin. In exchange, we will have you make a deal with us. A lot of teams did this with Vegas, where you pick this guy, we make a trade. That's how it goes down. That happened a lot of times with Vegas. I could see it happening here where Pittsburgh says, okay, you take Malkin, we get a little bit in return, win-win. You guys get a guy that you can have some jerseys sold on, and that's how I think they could make that work. For Joe, he's saying Vezina winner Rask to Seattle.
That's not the first time I've heard that.
If Rask goes to Seattle, that changes everything for this team, because if Rask does what Fleury did and have a really great year and have a very resurgent year, then the Seattle team could really become annoying. No matter who they get in front, whether you get a lot of meat in front or not, if Rask is playing real well, it could be tough, because if you say you hire somebody like Pierre Laviolette, you get a little bit more role players who can score a little bit. You could actually do something. You could do something a little bit with it.
The article that I was referencing before, boys, real quick, mentioned a couple names in terms of being the preem of what's available this year. One was Malkin, to your point, Maddie. Two was Rask, to your point, Joe. And third was also from Pittsburgh as well, in terms of their goalie tandem. Will they protect both?
Oh,
good point.
That's an interesting tidbit. Yeah, I heard Rask a few times. Malkin, like I said, I don't see them just giving him up. I could see them trading him to Seattle, get something in return, because he's still he's still producing. And
he is.
If you don't, like I said, if you go into a rebuild mode earlier than you expect, and you move a guy like Malkin, you want to get something in return. You can't just give him up for free.
Oh, absolutely. But I think there's a way to do it.
And as far as the goalie situation in Pittsburgh goes, I could definitely see one of them going again, because Matt Murray hasn't been the same since he won that second Stanley Cup. Yeah. And Tristan Jarry has come in and really taken that job away from him.
Yeah, I could see them possibly taking Matt Murray. I would say that would probably be who Pittsburgh leaves unprotected. It would be Murray out of the two, and they would just go with Jarry.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you got to have 7-4-2, I believe, or 7-4-1. Certain number. You can't protect everybody. They're going to get some meaty players. They will. I can promise you that. They didn't expect it to be William Karlsson. I didn't expect it to be William Karlsson. But in his first year, put up 50 goals. He's been, I believe it was 50-40-40 again. So
now, the thing too is that they'll be coming into the Pacific Division, and the one thing about the Pacific Division is that it's not as good as it was when Vegas rolled in there. That's another thing too. That division started going downhill. For example, Anaheim, not what they used to be. San Jose is currently struggling. We'll see how well they do next year, because they got a lot of aging talent. We'll see if they can have a bounce back. LA is definitely not what they used to be. Of course, they weren't what they were when Vegas came into the league. That's a very different division now, and it could very easily become a division where maybe Seattle could make some noise because of the fact that that division is a little bit weaker than it used to be. It's not like they're coming into the Central. They were coming into the Central. That's tough, because you're competing with some real tough teams in there.
I mean,
what is Malkin's trade value at this stage of his career? On the decline, 3rd or 4th round pick. I mean, listen, that's basically what I'm thinking is you get picks for him, because, obviously you're not going to get any players. But the thing is, too, I mean, Pittsburgh still has to think about it, because, to be honest, like I said, they're only getting older. And you keep Crosby no matter what, because he's a lifetime Penguin. You sacrifice Malkin. You start building for the future. Maybe your team struggles. Maybe you make a wild card berth. But at the end of the day, you got to think long term. You can't just immediately think we're still a competitor because Pittsburgh struggled this year to get into the postseason. So again, that's going to continue. That's not going to change.
I mean, I think you can get a second-round pick from Malkin, maybe a second and a fourth. You could definitely snaggle some picks out of them. He's still a productive player. Unfortunately, like he's not the he was when he first came in, but he's still a top-tier player in the NHL. I mean, I think maybe if you go a little bit lower, maybe you can get a third and a fourth for him. But I definitely think you can definitely get a second for him.
Yeah, I think you could get a second, probably a second. You probably get a second-round pick out of it. I mean, right now with where they're at, we don't even know how Seattle's going to do in their first season, so it's not as much of a risk to trade a pick. Whereas if you're a team that is probably going to suck and you trade your second-round pick, then it's like, okay, now you're being stupid. But, when it comes to Joseph Horakowski's comment, he says, I believe one of the expansion rules is that I read is every team has to have one goalie available to be picked, and you are absolutely 110% correct.
It's at least one. I know that.
So they can't. Oh, so Pittsburgh wouldn't be able to protect both then.
No. Yeah.
No,
Well,
they gotta
obviously,
have at least one.
and obviously,
at least one.
Yeah.
It's not only one. Oh, okay. Then they can.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
I'm
remember if
spoken
it was
crack
one
with
or
the
two.
Kraken.
But I was gonna say, obviously, for Philadelphia fans out there, we already know which goaltender we would probably leave unprotected. Probably be Elliott out of the two, to say the least.
He wouldn't be a bad choice for a team in its first year.
No, not at all. I mean, if he winds up, if he got picked, if you don't get Rask and you wind up getting Elliott and say Murray, it's not a terrible tandem to have in your first year, in the NHL.
I see them taking the defenseman from the Flyers. Just my personal opinion, early prediction.
Joe's saying Lyon, which I mean, I guess you could give Lyon. I'd rather have Lyon only because of his youth. That's the only reason why. But that's just me personally.
You're so deep there though, and young goaltending in the system now. So I think
you still got Felix Sandstrom that's getting ready to make his mark too.
I mean, Lyons is so educated. That's the thing that would be a loss for sure.
Yeah, you are right. You're not wrong in that. So with that, so the Seattle Kraken is officially here. It's going to be real interesting. Yes, Rob.
The biggest surprise that I got from the announcement today was the heat on social media, saying comments. I'm not going to go through all of them because they didn't comment on the show. They're not making it public knowledge, but I guess I could. Nah, I don't even want to look it up. They're saying what a joke. Insulting the insignia, and I'm like, what are you looking at? I thought it was an A+ effort from Seattle. I mean, one point that was made was they would have preferred the Seattle Tsunamis, and I kind of agree with them on that to balance the Hurricanes on the East Coast. It would have been
that would have been cool. I would have liked that.
You know what I mean? That was the best comment that I saw in the NHL Hockey Talk group that we all subscribe to. But 10K subs, and a lot of them were trashing it, and I was surprised that it was so one-sided in the opposite direction of how I felt.
Well, that's funny because in all the other groups I was seeing, everybody liked it. I think that's kind of weird. And Joe Horakowski was saying same thing. Like he would have rather seen the Tsunami. I didn't realize that was an option. I would have went.
I didn't know it was an option either. I heard Kraken as the most popular option. I heard Metropolitans.
Sockeyes.
Sockeyes was the other one, and then some of the ones that were in the mix. I know Totems was in the names.
Durain was the
Rain.
I just read that they looked at over 1,200 games.
Yeah,
more than the Washington football team.
Yeah.
They're going to be
no longer the Redskins. So they're called the football team.
Yeah,
they're going to be
Kraken arrived.
They're going to be the Washington Trumps. We all know it. But anyway,
you knocked that off, Damien, my brother from down under. Ducks 2021, baby. Let's go.
He come from a land down under.
But yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting where they go. I mean, personally, for me, I don't think it was bad branding at all, honestly. But
No.
you know what? I'm not from Seattle. I don't really have to live with those consequences.
Yeah.
So there's that. I can sit here as a Philadelphia Flyers fan and say, I don't know what the fuck you complain about. You got a cool team and some cool jerseys.
Exactly.
So not as
Yeah.
cool as mine, but you know.
Yeah, my only worry was when they were going to, like, just going into it, I knew it was going to be Kraken. I was worried how over the top they would be with octopus. Like, I was worried like over the top tentacles and all that. Like, I was worried on where it was going to go, but they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like I said, they hit it out of the park. They did a great
Yeah.
job with the production of this. And I will say this, the first tweet is pretty masterful. Goes saying, and I quote, "Now we have a team name. We're strategizing all the ways to draft your favorite player." I love it. I love it.
Love it.
And it's funny because the LA Kings were a little vocal on Twitter this afternoon as well after the announcement was made, saying something along the lines of, and I'm going to paraphrase this one, why are all the new teams being put in our division? Like
But then
the NHL Twitter media guys that run their pages, they've come up with some pretty good stuff over the last few days. So I have to keep my eye on them.
And then the response to the Kings is, it's like, why do you care? You're gonna suck anyway.
Yeah.
That's just how it's gonna be.
I mean, if they get Dustin Byfield, they're going to be in pretty good shape offensively.
Well,
because you're going to have 2 30-goal scorers at least on your first 2 lines.
Yeah, but we'll see how their goaltending holds up. But anyway, so with that,
Top of the third, the Giants are threatening with 2 men on and no out.
So the Seattle Kraken are officially here in the NHL, and
my
we
DK
will.
pitcher. No.
But the Seattle Kraken are here, and we are officially have a NHL league of 32 teams. Prism saying, I like the Kraken, but like the hockey guy, I was hoping for a Cthulhu type logo.
It's got to be South Park Cthulhu, though. That's the only way it'll work.
Joseph Orkowski saying, I like the anchor emblem better than the serpent ass. The anchor emblem, I was surprised they did not have a tentacle wrapped around it. I was a little surprised they didn't go that route with it.
A lot of the concepts had tentacles around the anchor.
Yeah, I was very, very stunned.
Like I said, I do like the Space Needle, and that was a part of the anchor emblem.
Yeah.
But it's just a shoulder emblem. Like, I don't think it was anything special enough to be considered for the but I mean, if you look at the S, it does make out what we would assume a Kraken would look like, because it's just a mythological creature.
Pretty much.
You know, anytime back in the day, a ship went lost at sea, who do they blame?
The Kraken.
They blamed it on the Kraken because they honestly believed that
unless if you're Mel Gibson, you could be blaming it on somebody else.
But I would say, it's going to be interesting having 2 new teams. Finally, are officially, we have 32 teams in the league, both of them in the Pacific Division. It's going to be real weird to see how this shakes out because of it being a weaker division right now. We'll see where this goes. But with that being said, though, that's it for the Seattle Kraken. And I will say this. I think they did well. They got to change the name of their arena again because that Lemon Pledge shit has got to fucking go. Because
no, they're sticking with it.
That is stupid because it's a sports arena. You don't have to make it political. And what the fuck does Amazon do? They make it fucking political. You can say you're agreeing, whatever, but why don't you just give it a fucking name for an arena? Why didn't you just call it the Amazon Arena? You could have easily just done that and no one would have shaken 2 shits at it, honestly. But anyway. All right. So with that being said, that's the Seattle Kraken. We have other news to get into. And bye Frank.
Bye. I disappear.
So Frank went poof. And now
Pablo Sandoval with an RBI. I didn't even know he was still alive.
Panda.
Sack fly and an RBI. Giants up 1-0 in the top of the third.
So, from the rest of the league, as Seattle was celebrating or despising. It's been on both sides, apparently, with the Seattle Kraken officially being announced. Meanwhile, in the Flyer world, a little bit of troubling. Yes.
Real quick before we switch over to the Flyers. So since we're talking about stadium names, arena names, and I was going to bring this up later, but since we're already on the subject, I might as well bring it up. Islanders named their new arena as well. That'll be opening up in the 2021-2022 season.
UBS Arena.
The what arena?
Why you got to
UBS.
go ahead and do that, Frank?
Sorry.
He went ahead
You
and
stole
stole
your
my
thunder.
I got
thunder.
excited.
Oh, your thunder!
The
I got
UPS
excited.
arena. Okay.
So,
Well, at least I can say.
Hopefully, I can take my dad to an Islanders game in the future. So,
Well, I mean, look at it this way. UPS's colors
Son of
are
a
brown.
bitch.
So think about
no, not
the-
UPS.
Oh.
UBS.
Oh, UBS. Oh, I was thinking it was going to be UPS because if it was, it would have been great. Because what that would have meant, it would have been brown. The Islanders would have found a way to fuck up their team and would have been shit for the next 30 freaking years, like they
Don't
were
worry,
the last
the Islanders
time.
have done that for a decade with Rick DiPietro and screwed up John Tavares' chances. So,
Absolutely. Good job, Mike Milbury and the other GM. You guys
And
did a
Garth
wonderful
Snow
job fucking that team up.
All right, Frank,
All right.
go away.
Okay.
So with that, new
said,
arena,
okay.
a new arena announced for the
So
New York Islanders UBS arena.
UBS Arena at Belmont Park in Elmont, New York.
Okay then.
That son of a bitch. That's dirty, Frank. Come on, man.
That's gonna bother Bry all freaking night. He's gonna stay awake, just
man.
pissed off, tossing and turning about that.
I'm
But
gonna show
anyway,
up, you know what? I'm gonna show up on the next show that Frank does and steal his thunder on his point.
so the fix.
Well, fixing the PM since they're still doing
Well,
that combined
fixing the
show.
PM. They are eventually going to no longer be confused. But anyway, pointing back to this. So on to our next bit of news. Unfortunately for the Flyers, a little bit of troubling news. Carter Hart did leave with an injury while in practice. However, though, there is a positive. Oscar Lindblom did get a contract extension. Hopefully, he'll continue his ways of recovering. He has not returned to the hospital, so that is an absolute great thing to hear that he did not have to return to the hospital.
Two
To
things.
that.
So
Yes.
yeah, so we're gonna play a little good news, bad news. So you did the bad news for Carter Hart. I got the good news about Carter Hart. It's only
Sure.
back spasms.
Okay.
Minor issue. Considered day to day. I heard he was back out on the ice today, taking shots with some teammates. Now with the Oscar Lindblom, I don't necessarily agree with this. I think it's too soon. But good news, better news. Lindblom has been placed on the active roster. So he will be traveling to Toronto with the team. I don't agree with that. I think he should just take it easy and just kind of do his thing for the rest of the playoffs. Support the team, be there for the team. Absolutely, 100,000%. Because these guys are playing for him. He needs to be there for himself. Tiffany Welch, what's up? Oh. Woohoo. And you know, just do his thing. Like, just let him be, let him rest up, let him get healthy, because he's not anywhere close to playing shape. They probably won't play him. He shouldn't be on the active roster.
I would agree he doesn't go on the active roster, but at least if he wants to, if he feels up to it, have him travel with team. He could be good for him to be there, to be with his comrades and seeing them get ready to go into the postseason and stuff like that. Great motivation for them.
No, I agree completely.
Yeah,
and he should be there. And I think that's the only reason why I agree that he should be on the active roster, is for that reason, so he can be there, because the team has been there for him and supported him through the entire thing. And they use Oscar as motivation. Like, they're playing for each other, not just the team, not just a logo or themselves. They're playing for each other. They bought into everything. He should be there. But should he be on the roster to be considered to play, to practice? I don't think so. That's just me. I think he just needs to get healthy and let him rest up. Just wait till next year.
I like it because of the morale factor that Maddie put up. But the two things I don't like: one, you're wasting a roster spot for an eligible player because no, he's not going to play this year, and if they do, that would be the most foolish thing ever. But just being maybe at the hotel around the team where they're playing teams. Now, mind you, everybody's there in a hub, so it's a little bit safer. And I love how it turned out that both hub cities wound up being in Canada, who, let's face it, did a far better job with this pandemic than our country did.
Absolutely.
So maybe there's a lower risk of contraction, but there's still that risk. Whereas if you were home resting, to Brian's point, it'd be a zero factor. So there is a little bit about that, but we all go around this world one time. This is what his choice was. I respect it.
No,
Yeah.
I absolutely respect his choice, but you brought up a great point. His immune system isn't exactly 100%.
No.
And that puts him at a higher risk of
Oh,
contracting the disease, whether he's in the hub or not.
Right.
And you're absolutely right, because you know what? It is his choice. It is absolutely his choice. And I think I'm not saying he's making the wrong decision going to Toronto with the team, to be with the team. I think any chance of him playing right now would be a terrible move.
So, Bri, Joe is saying, I know you're a Ducks fan, Daly, but the Flying P is a crest, not a logo. Get it right.
Same difference. It's the same difference. It's a logo. Crest logo is the same thing.
Berto doesn't even need to roast Daly. The fan will do it for him. It's hilarious.
Just take right over, poor guy.
Oh my god.
That's such a Hanson Brothers comment right there too. By the
True.
way, Joe. That so is.
It is.
Yeah.
Same difference. It's like sweater jersey. It's the same thing.
I'm listening to the fucking song. Oh,
that fucking shit's
Cypress.
Oh my god.
It's a great scene in the movie though, because the referee just kind of looks at him like, what? I don't even know what to say to this right now. Like, how do I respond?
He's like awkwardly, and he awkwardly turns his head and looks at the crowd, just like, shit. Right in the middle of the national anthem.
Do I just skate away now? What do I do?
I bet you the actor didn't even know what to do. He was just waiting for cut at that point. Oh man. All right. So on to our next topic here. Obviously, that's pretty much the major news with the Flyers. And might as well talk about this one. Out in the desert, not the Vegas one, though, Arizona, the sad one. That one, basically, Taylor Hall, one of the more exciting things that's hit Arizona in recent years, has been talking with contract extension possibilities for the Arizona Coyotes, which would definitely be great for Arizona if they can actually land his services for the future. And we already saw this issue happen with New Jersey, where they tried to sign him back long-term. He basically said, fuck you guys, and they traded him. So kind of interesting to see what will happen here. What do you think we're going to see out of this? Do you see a contract extension getting signed? And if you do, what do you think the link's going to be?
I'm not necessarily sure yet. I don't think re-signing Taylor Hall will be the best thing for Arizona, because he hasn't exactly been that player they expected him to be yet. He hasn't really been that player that anybody's expected him to be in his career yet. He had a good couple beginning years with Edmonton. Maybe had one good scoring year in New Jersey, and he hasn't really set the world on fire in Arizona. He's made a couple good plays, but if he does resign, I don't see it being for more than maybe a 3-year deal. Maybe a 3-year deal.
Rob?
I could see that, because you think they want to start building for the future. So that means you're not going to waste cap money on aging guys like Hall or Phil Kessel. I think they'd be trying to move away from that. A smart GM would be trying to move away from that. And, Rick Tocchet's had enough experience in this league to have his say in that matter. I like a 2 to 3 year deal, though, because what is Hall? How old would you say he is? 27, 28, maybe?
Like 28, 29, 30, somewhere in that window.
Yeah, he's almost 30.
Gotcha. So, 28. So, he's sort of right in that middle area. to where you could throw him to where you got him till he's 30, his 31-year season. I like that.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Give him like 4.5 mil, 5
Right.
mil
Right.
over 3
So-
years. That's not unreasonable for a guy who's really been, let's say for what it is, has been underachieving most of his career.
Yep.
So, do you say yay or nay? Do you think an extension does happen, or do you think he goes to another team?
I think he walks.
You think he
I
walks?
do. I think he
Okay.
walks. I think he's going to go somewhere else.
Okay. Give them a first overall pick. Poe.
Maybe he'll stay. I tell you what, he'll either stay or he'll be an LA King. Mark my words. And they'll overpay him.
They probably will. They're dumb enough.
Yeah.
Joe, yeah, I agree with you there, man. I do kind of like the cardboard cutouts. I would rather see the stuffed animals like they did over in Germany in the soccer match we're doing. But to me, I don't care who's in the stands or not. If they got cardboard cutouts, stuffed animals, real people, I don't care. It's as long as I'm a baseball guy, I'm a hockey guy. As long as the sports are on TV, I'm a very happy camper.
Either way is good with me for that reason too, but I'm a little bit more in favor of the cardboard cutouts from what I heard from today. You can donate money to have your face as being one of the cardboard cutouts, and that goes towards towards a charitable donation for this fighting this pandemic. So that's
cool.
I mean that's a total win-win scenario right there. So I'm a little more hep on it now.
It'd be cool though if you see a home run and you just see the cardboard fan just get absolutely destroyed by the baseball.
Well, it's really funny that you bring that up because they were saying on the broadcast on ESPN during the Yankees game where they said if you do wind up donating and getting your cardboard cutout, if a baseball hits your cutout, you get that baseball.
Oh yeah,
that's cool. That's kick ass. That's kick ass. Hopefully signed.
I'm telling you, man. There's a lot of risk involved with what all of our beloved sports are doing right now. But within this, you're going to discover possibilities of portraying your sport for years to come that you would have never encountered unless you had a scenario like this. I know in my personal life, like, for example, I've been doing a lot more healthy cooking at home rather than stopping for, fast food or yada, yada. And that's, I like, those type of habits to carry well beyond this pandemic. I think we'll see this for sports. I think I don't know. I know baseball just adapted their playoff system, on the day of, which is I don't know. Rob Brinkman said it very well in his video earlier today, where he said that's like changing your fantasy football scoring in week 3. That was a great analogy because that's exactly what it is. But I'm telling you, we're going to see a lot of excitement leading into this because it's only 60 games. So you want to have a little bit more players in play for the playoffs and they can still finish the World Series by the end. But I'm telling you, expect to see more playoff teams for baseball to come or to draw in that younger fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of unnecessary, but it is what it is. I'm not going to, it's more baseball. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to say it's good or bad.
It's bigger slates. It's bigger playoff slates than DFS.
Right, but if you think, all right, so I'm gonna relate this to hockey here. So this is baseball and hockey here. So hockey, NBA, I believe expanded their playoffs. Soccer expanded their playoffs. Another sport I can't remember off the top of my head expanded their playoffs as well. They all were already in the middle of their seasons when they decided to do this. So it's the only fair way to rule out. All these other teams that were on the bubble, to say. Baseball never started. Baseball never even got underway. So this is the reason why I say the expanded playoffs is a little bit unnecessary for that reason. If they had started the season, if they had gotten like 50, 60%, okay, yeah, you expand the playoffs a little bit. But they didn't start. They weren't 89% of the way like hockey and basketball were, where teams were on the bubble and never got to finish their run.
Yeah.
They didn't get to 80. They didn't get to 82. If they fall short at 82, they fall short. They're out. They never got to that point. Baseball never got started.
you make a good point, because what it does do is, leading up before this decision was made, the real novelty of this season was all these 60 games matter, like the equivalent to like 3 games. So like
Yeah.
so much on the line. And now when you can make the playoffs, maybe potentially as a sub 500 team, maybe that takes away from it. It normalizes it, but you lose that excitement of the importance on each and every game. But it does allow for, say, like a team like the Dodgers right now that we're watching right now. Let's say Kershaw misses like 3 weeks, and their pitching rotation, despite their offense, is in disarray, and they're like winning and losing a lot of 9-7 ball games, right? Dodgers should be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? If you want a successful product. So that's, I think, what Major League Baseball is thinking there.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, I agree. The playoffs are probably going to be expanded moving forward. It allows for more teams to be in. Like you said, it's going to address the younger targeted audience that they're trying to bring in. But at the same time, like I said, they never got the season started. So to me, it's unnecessary to expand the playoffs on it. And like I said, I get why, but I just think it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it's more baseball, so
I don't necessarily disagree with you.
It's more baseball, so I'm not going to argue with it. So, I mean, either way, I'm good.
All right, guys. So, were there any other major news and notes that we wanted to talk about before we wind this sucker down?
Oh, I got a bunch for you.
All right, then. Let's get right on to them, Mr. Daly. Kind of like the scoring update. Only difference is we don't have scores. We just have news.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom here. So a lot of news out of Vancouver lately, and it's not necessarily positive, surrounding Brock Bozier. Possibility of him being traded out of Vancouver. Their GM has already denied the fact that they want to trade him. They are moving him down the line for the playoffs, so he will be centering the second line. What do you guys think? You guys think that there's a possibility that he gets moved, or do you think it's just one of those situations where they just have too much talent and maybe they can't keep everybody together?
Well, it depends. How many people are playing on entry-level deals?
I think Bozier's out of the entry-level deal. I think Elias Pettersson is on an entry-level deal. JT Miller is obviously not. Trying to think. Bo Horvat, isn't on an entry-level deal.
Not.
So,
all right.
I think Besser's on the tail end of his. I think he's a RFA at the end of the year.
Okay, so I could see where this could become a bit of a sticky situation with the cap, because most of your good players are out of their entry-level contracts.
I don't think it's a cap issue. I think it's a him issue.
Well, if that's the case, then if he's really wanting out of there, then I mean, Vancouver, here's the thing. It's tough when you have a player who doesn't want to play in your city, but the problem is you can afford him and you can keep him, and it'd be stupid if you didn't, but at the same time, he may underperform. And then you look like an idiot for re-signing him, even though his talent was there, but he's just, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to play here.
I don't think it's that situation either. I think he wants to be there. I think he just, I don't know what it is. I guess it's an issue in the front office or with the coaching staff, because he wants to be there. I think it's an issue where, he's not performing where they thought he would be, and it's not necessarily a move to trade him, sending him down a line or two, but you know how the media is, and they hear something about a certain player being moved down a line. Oh, maybe it's a disciplinary issue. Maybe they're going to move him at the end of the year. Who knows? So
well, if they don't move him, they might fire the coach. Only because when you have talented players and they don't want to play because they don't like the coach, a lot of times teams, in their worry of losing a talented player, will react to fire the coach in order to keep that player there.
The sort of cardboard cutout.
Excellent. I know, I love it.
Anyway. Speaking of coaches,
but he'd be losing a major talent. So to your point, that could be like that.
It could, and I don't think it's a coaching or a player not liking the coach liking the player situation either. I think they're just trying to send a message to him saying, hey, man, we know you're talented. There's a reason why we drafted you. I believe he was a number 3 overall, a couple of years ago. Travis Green just got the job. He's doing a great job with Vancouver. They're a very talented team. They got talent everywhere. But I don't know. I think this is a situation that's getting blown out of proportion. Of course, the media is gonna do that, and
Bored. Need a story.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What's Joe saying?
He's saying, Pove, I feel like I have that shirt. I went to a playoff game 6 against Buffalo years ago, and the Flyers got destroyed and eliminated. Ooh, I think I know what year he's talking about. I think he's talking about 2006.
This is crushed Tampa time. This was a good series.
Yeah, that was the 04. Yeah, no, I think Joe, you're talking about 06, aren't you? When Forsberg's 1 full year as a captain, and we were absolutely smoked by Buffalo in the first round.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I was there too.
Oh, tough one.
So we're gonna move on. Little good news. We're gonna play a little good news, bad news for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, okay then.
You want the good news or the bad news?
Might as well start with the bad.
Bad news. Taves has been ruled unfit to participate in practice.
Well, that's tough.
For any number of reasons. It could be a bunch of reasons.
This is what you're seeing. This is what you're seeing with baseball. The COVID and the HIPAA laws. It's going to be vague.
Yeah, it's going to be very vague. You're going to be seeing unfit to participate, unfit to play, thrown around a lot lately. However, the good news is Chicago might be getting their goalie back in time for Sunday when they leave for Toronto. So that's a little good news, bad news. Yep, Corey Crawford could return on Sunday for the Hawks in time to head to Toronto.
Is that really good news?
It is for the Blackhawks.
It's just for his experience alone. You talk about Stanley Cup goaltender. I get it, but I've never been a Corey Crawford fan.
I'm not a fan. Listen, he's very Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Regular season, he's average at best. But when it comes to playoff time, though, he's got a very good track record of really turning it on.
It's funny because you don't see that too much with goalies. You see it more with players like skaters. You see it with your Claude Lemieux, and you see it with your there are tons of examples. None of them are coming to my head right now, but there's plenty of examples of skaters they sucked in the regular season, could count how many goals they have on one hand. Next thing you know, they go to the playoffs, they score like 20 goals. Like, what the fuck was this during the regular season?
Tom Wilson was like that at first.
You know who
yes,
else
he
was like that? And it's not a shot because he was. I would say he was an average player. That's a ball in the gap. He was an average player during the regular season, but come playoff time, Danny B was just a whole nother monster.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, Danny B was Mr. Playoff.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Absolutely.
I hate Corey Seager, but he's so good. Sorry.
But
he just goes oppo on this one, man. He's one of those hitters that I love it because he gives him a pitch to the outside, and what's he just watch? He goes oppo with it. He takes what the game gives to him,
and
he's a full field hitter. I love it and hate it.
Jake Friel commented back in. Hey, Frank, can we get that comment back up? He said, "What's up, boys? Definitely agree to the poll. Players need to get that rhythm back." And there was a Prism comment that we missed. Can we go back to that one real quick? There we go. Saying Buffalo or Montreal need to jump on it. Buffalo needs to say, we'll give you the 8th pick straight up. Are we talking trading for Vancouver? Or are we talking about expansion draft? What are we talking about here?
Probably talking about
Boser. Pick.
Or talking Boser, maybe, when we're talking about Brock Boser, That'd be a good pick.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. We already did the Islanders. Tuukka Rask of the Boston Bruins fractures his finger in practice.
Okay.
Another good news, bad news. Bad news is he fractured his finger. Good news, he will be ready for the qualifiers. So that's not a huge blow for the Boston Bruins. And we'll keep it in Boston. we all know Pasternak and Kasha situation. Been held out of practice and will continue to be held out of practice, being deemed unfit to play. After being tested for COVID, I believe both players came up negative, but they are backtracking for them to see if anybody they've hung out with lately has been, has had the virus at all. Because for some reason, I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Elias Gonzalez. I guess he's talking about. I don't know if he's talking about Bry or if he's talking about Rob. He's saying, "Are you Fred Durst?" Limp Bizkit. Okay. Boy, that's a first. I don't think I've ever heard that being mentioned on A2T rating.
I've been compared to Feely from Porn before. Never Fred Durst though. If you're talking about me, might be talking about Brian. It's got a little similarity to him.
Is that I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
It depends on your perspective on Limp Bizkit.
I'm so 50-50 on Limp Bizkit because they put out some good tunes too. Rearranged is like one of my top 10 songs of all time. It's such a good song, but my God, Fred Durst makes me want to kick babies. Like it's just
I can't stand Fred Durst.
And like the popular songs like Nookie. Oh my God, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of very hot and cold on Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. You got oh man, there's Nookie, there's Break Stuff, there's all kinds.
Yeah, that's good song.
Never a big Limp Bizkit guy, but jumping back to Pasternak and Kasha, they are expected to be pretty much out for the rest of training camp. They won't play in the exhibition games. They are expected to still go to Toronto with the team, and they do expect them to be ready for the qualifiers. So I guess what they're kind of doing is their own kind of little quarantine, I guess, kind of situation to make sure these guys are good.
So they'll probably be a little shaky at the beginning because they won't have a chance to practice all that much. But they'll have that exhibition game, and
Pasternak, no. He's going to be fine as soon as he jumps right in.
Is this like Brokeback Mountain type quarantine? Is that what we're talking here?
I don't know. I've seen a couple of those memes thrown around when those two have been said.
Well,
so,
it is.
I mean, I'm not sure.
It's the Bruins, so I'll say yes. If it was any other team but a rival, I would say I would say no.
So I don't know if you guys are aware, but over the weekend, Crosby exited a scrimmage early, and he was deemed unfit to participate. Okay. He had skated for the first time since leaving the ice. I believe it was yesterday, half hour before practice, by himself, skating around. I assume it was an injury-related kind of thing. Seems to be fine. Skated, participated in practice, so he seems to be on pace to be ready for the exhibition game on the 28th against the Flyers.
Okay, then.
Let's see what else we got here. Little news out of Anaheim.
You got my hopes up there. I'm not gonna lie. You got my hopes up that Crosby wasn't gonna be able to play. He's gonna
play. Unless he could be bleeding profusely and he'll still be playing.
Yeah.
Little news out of Anaheim. Troy Terry signs a 3-year extension with the Ducks. Good move for them. Has really not gotten a true test of the NHL yet. So hopefully this contract extension will pretty much secure a spot for him on the pro roster moving forward. Like the potential he has to be a playmaker. He's not going to be more than maybe a 15-goal scorer, 40, 50 point a year guy. I like the signing. It's a cheap signing. I believe he's getting $3 million a year. So I'm okay with that. Moving forward, jump back into the Penguins. So all season long, there's been like a little goalie situation going on over there. Tristan Jarry and Matt Murray. A little bit.
You mean to tell me Pittsburgh hasn't had good goaltending this year?
I'm not saying they didn't have good goaltending. I'm saying they didn't have consistent goaltending. Tristan Jarry has truly been the guy for them to lean on. Matt Murray just hasn't really been the same goaltender since winning that second Stanley Cup. I said this earlier. So come qualifier time when they got to play Montreal, do you think they platoon them, or do you think maybe they pick one and just ride with them?
Platoon.
Because there's a couple different ways you can go with this.
If Murray comes out and he plays as well as he's had in the past, then they'll go with Murray. But if he looks even remotely shaky, they're just going to platoon him with Jari and just say fuck it. Because at this point, Pittsburgh, they're not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but they understand the goaltending situation. They don't want to play with fire, not if they got a chance to try and do something. But when it comes to speaking of Matt Murray, though, I will say this. Early signs were shown when their second cup run happened. I think sometimes we give Murray credit for that cup. Yes, he did participate in the series, but Marc-Andre Fleury deserves a lot of credit for getting them to that semifinal round because he's the reason why they were able to stay consistent there. So early signs were showing Murray was not consistent. They didn't listen to them. But anyway.
I don't necessarily agree with that, Matty, because, yeah, Fleury got into the semifinals, but who got into the cup? And I can't use that argument. That totally contradicts my Wentz and Foles debate. Never mind. I can't use that argument. That argument is null and void.
Prism 2A saying, if Crosby sits, Penn's tanking for that number 1 pick. No.
Well, it's not a guarantee.
Again.
They get the pick anyway.
And we're rioting if that happens. Let's go.
Yes, if that is, we are riding. But no, I will say this again. Players do not tank. GMs do. That's just I don't see Crosby sitting at all. Like Brian was saying, Crosby could be bleeding profusely. Crosby could have the injury we saw in that one insurance commercial where the stick was literally hanging out through one of the Capitals' arms, and he just, I got a splinter, and then he goes back out on the ice. That's how players are. He won't. He will play.
Perfect example. Years ago when Steven Stamkos took the slap shot off his face.
Oh,
he
did.
They stopped the bleeding in his nose, and they put a full cage on him, and he was back out in 20 minutes.
That is true. He was.
Rob, what are you thinking on the goaltender situation in Pittsburgh?
Typically a tandem isn't the way to go. I mean, we've seen that fail time and time again here in Philadelphia. So I really feel that, you have to commit to one guy. And I've indeed read the same thing that Maddie and you have just said, that that's the plan, is riding a tandem. But they also had a successful way. It was, what you just brought up with Fury and Fleury and Murray as well in that year. So, this same coaching staff. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think they'll be able to make it. They'll be able to handle it. But I think at some point you got to go with the guy, allow him to build up that rhythm. It's just like a starting pitcher in baseball. Very heady type game. You feel very isolated. You feel very alone, and you really need to get just a game to game rhythm. So if you're also thinking in the back of my mind, man, shit, if I give up 3, 4, 5 goals, am I going to be pulled? That's not a good head.
No, Matt, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Rob. I mean, in that situation, it's really, do you want to go with the goaltender that's been essentially better all year? Or do you want to go with the guy who's got the experience? And this kind of leads me into my next question. And it involves the New York Rangers. It's the same situation. So we're going to play a little game. If you are the GM of the New York Rangers, do you push to have Henrik Lundqvist start?
No.
Or do you go with Prince Igor or Georgiev?
I would go with Igor. I don't go with Henrik. I mean, Henrik, I think, will be his backup, but I just don't like the idea of rolling with Henrik right now. I just think he's at that point in his career where it's just like he's not what he was. His best years are behind him,
And I disagree with that. I mean, I do with your other points that, his best times behind him, but this is probably going to be one of his final seasons, right?
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah.
You owe it to Henrik Lundqvist to let him have one more run.
You do, but at the same time, you also want to win. And if Henrik isn't playing well, you can't do that.
Wait. It's a win-win situation for the Rangers.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation. You run with Henrik Lundqvist, who's pretty much been the backbone of that organization, has done everything right when it comes to dealing with media, personnel, front office people, fans. He's done everything great for that organization.
Okay. Yes.
He's bent over backwards for that organization. He's got
He
records.
has.
He's got records for the organization. Here's the thing. You owe him one more. If you think this is going to be his last season, and you have no doubt about it, which I have no doubt about it, I think he's done at the end of the year. You rock with Henrik Lundqvist for one more run. You see what he has left. Here's what happens. If you catch the run right, you win a Stanley Cup. Correct?
Possibly.
Yes or no? If you plan to run right, you win a Stanley Cup.
If Henrik Lundqvist is playing well, yes, you can win a cup.
Agreed. Here's the other winning part. If you fail and you fall apart, you're giving your chance a shot at the number 1 overall pick. It's a win-win situation. You're either going to win a number 1 overall pick or you have the possibility of winning Stanley Cup. Because if they get past the qualifiers, I could see the Rangers absolutely going on a run. Because that offense is that good and that defense is starting to come back into its own. And they're getting healthy. The Rangers are a dangerous team.
Sure.
And, well, there is no end. That's pretty much it. That's all I got.
Period.
I will say this, though. By the way, Ted FX, he's saying, if COVID never happened, do you guys think the Flyers would have won the cup and had a parade already? I've said it before. I didn't necessarily think we were going to win. I hope we win. But I didn't think we were. I thought we were going to tag out in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Deep run, yes. Stanley Cup is hard to say. Because it's so unpredictable that the Stanley Cup lasts, and that's what makes it so awesome.
Rob, devil's advocate here real quick. I don't think so. Let's look at what was happening. Everybody was talking about this momentum we had.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were on a phenomenal run, right? But part of that run consisted of suffering a 4-1 loss to Montreal. That was in late January to Carey Price, who flashed his brilliance that we could see again in this playoffs. And then we won a bunch more games off February up until that game that you went to, Brian, the Boston game. And let's look at what they looked great. They were playing great. They happen to not win them all. You can't go 82-0.
Sometimes you get a hot goalie.
Yeah, exactly. But James Van Riemsdyk was knocked out of the lineup. Philip Myers was knocked out of the lineup. I really sense the trend that exhilarating stretch of games that they were playing was taking the ball on the bodies of a lot of the players that were still in the lineup as well. Could have easily been an easy rash of injuries leading up to another failed first or second exit out of the playoffs. So let's look at this. You don't know what would have happened. We know what is going to happen, and that's a team that had a lot of confidence from the last time they were out on the ice together, and they're 100% healthy and energized, ready to kick some fucking ass. Let's go. Now we'll get the fucking parade. Now we'll get it.
Yeah.
Listen,
I love it.
Well said. Like I said, I think they could have made a deep run. I think this plays a better advantage to a lot of different teams because you're seeing teams get healthy again. You're seeing a lot of players coming back that wouldn't have been back in time for the playoffs had this not happened.
Right.
There's benefits.
That argument was basically to counteract that. Flyers lost all their momentum that I'm hearing from Rangers fans that I deal with here in North Jersey.
But the Rangers are in the same point. The Rangers are in the same boat.
They're in the same exact boat. All their momentum died off. Rest assured, they were going to make the playoffs, but now the stop happens, and this favors Washington. This favors Boston. This favors a lot of the other teams that were, now that Boston, they're going to have Kasha and Pasternak and everything like that. But point is, it favors those teams that were in a spot where they were in a good place already, but we're starting to get to that lull of the year where you're going to make the playoffs, it's coming. Now you get this break, and now you get to wait.
Yeah, we're
You're like,
done.
okay, everybody's in the same spot we are. It's a brand new season. We don't have at lull going on. Everybody was in the same post as we are. So
Answering Joe's question, I do think I think we'll definitely see Nolan Patrick play the game of hockey on the NHL level. It may or may not be on the Philadelphia Flyers, though.
I think it winds up being on the Flyers. I think you see him next year. He
Nice.
just needs.
I love it.
You just don't. You're not going to see him this year. You know, Andrew Shaw is going through the same issue right now.
Mhm.
It's just that podcast I was listening to earlier. He had an interview on there. You know, these guys, they got to get the noodle right. You know what I mean? That's the most important part. And when it comes to head injuries, concussions, you can't mess with that anymore. Like Andrew Shaw even said, you know, I spent a lot of time rushing myself back from injuries, including concussions, and it's never benefited in my favor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit out the playoffs. I'm going to get rested up. I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to get my head right. I'm going to come back next year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what I can to help Chicago. And I think that's the same situation as Nolan Patrick. I don't even think Nolan Patrick's even on the active roster.
Well, look at it this way, you know, like head injuries ended Chris Pronger's career. That should tell you everything you need to know about how serious these things are.
Well,
And that was
just look at what it's doing to Dan Carcillo is the best example.
Yeah.
Look at what it's doing to him.
Before
How many
we get off,
concussions he had?
you are right, Brian. Before we get off the Chris Pronger train, I did want to just make a quick mention. Dan, did you check out Pronger on Instagram, because that show was fabulous? Brian's point, the interview was phenomenal.
The interview with G was awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the David Boreanaz or the other two, but I did stick around for G. I thought that was a great interview. Those two, those two in a room together are
Hey, Chrome.
fun. They're a good time. What's up, Chrome? My man.
He's saying, I'm loving the Seattle Kraken name and sweaters.
Me too, brother. Me too. I like the roadies better than the home, but you know, it is what it is.
And Ted FX saying, got in late. What do you guys think about Oscar extension?
I think it's good.
I'm perfectly fine with the extension, and hopefully he continues to make that progress before. Hopefully we'll get him back soon.
Length and money, that's a team deal right there. 3
Yeah.
years, $3 million a year, that's a team deal.
And it's a class move by a class organization too, to, you know, extend his contract so that way medicals come with that in terms of insurance, which is very important for him as he continues his battle back from Ewing sarcoma. And you're paying a guy to where you're having the faith that his health will cooperate. It just, you know, Flyer, it's not a lot of money. It's 3 years, $9 million, right?
Yeah, it's 3 years, $9 million.
Yeah,
so you get three a year.
But it's the gesture more than anything else.
Absolutely.
This is why people come. This is like a guy like Pronger had such a long stay in St. Louis, and certainly a time in Anaheim as well. And he comes to the Flyers, and post career, it's all Flyers. You know what I mean? Like you get
his interview last night. He had a Flyers t-shirt on.
Absolutely.
He loved his time here. Real quick, I know we're starting to run a little low on time here, so
yeah,
I got 2 more points to make. These two don't really need to. One we can discuss. The other one we don't really need to. Brendan Lemieux suspended 2 games with his hit on Donskoy, the Colorado Avalanche, back in, I believe it was February. A little bit of a elongated process for obvious reasons, but Lemieux suspended 2 games for interference. Little bit of a debate we can have here. Will this affect the Rangers-Kane series? Not season, series. I think it does. I think it does affect them. Yeah, he's not the biggest offensive guy, but you're taking a gritty guy off the ice for 2 games in a best-of-5 series.
The best-of-5 series. That was my point. You want your team at full strength.
What are you thinking, Maddie?
I think it does affect them. I mean, losing any player to your team it affects you. Even if you're losing a 4th liner, like you're losing chemistry. You don't ever want to lose chemistry, even on your lowest line. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So
I agree. Like I said, it's not. He's not going to be like your 25, 30 goal scorer guy. He's not like you're losing a superstar. You're losing grit, and in the playoffs, especially in the best of 5, you want to have as much grit out there as possible. So yeah, I think it definitely does affect them.
Tars Sparkus. What was he saying? He was saying some preseason prepping should at least be performed before real games are played.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
I
response
agree.
to the poll. Yeah, he's spot on.
Absolutely. And last point I got here real quick is we were a little concerned. Well, not really concerned, but we weren't really sure as a hockey community whether or not Max Domi will be playing in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. For that, he is type 1 diabetic. He will be playing for Montreal. He has decided to go. So I think this is a huge thing for Montreal. Obviously, he's one of their top centers, one of the top players in the league in a couple different aspects. And I think this changes the aspect of Montreal against Pittsburgh in their series.
All right. Yeah, I think it definitely helps Montreal in that regard. It's a tough spot for them, but getting Max Domi, always helpful to have one of your major players saying he wishes to play.
Yep, and not even just that. He wants to play. He doesn't have to because he's at a higher risk, like Oscar Lindblom would be if he were playing in his situation. He's got a health issue, so it puts him at a higher risk of acquiring the disease. And the fact that he still wants to play and put himself at risk, it's he's willing to take the risk. He's got doctors and friends that trying to talk him out of it. He's like, I'm making the choice. He might not have this opportunity next year. He might not even be in Montreal next year. I believe he's in RFA at the end of the season too. So he might wind up signing somewhere else, getting traded somewhere else. Who knows? So this might be a shot for this year. Who knows when his next one's going to be?
Yeah. All right. Well, that is that for the notes that we had going on, or the news that we had here for the Hockey Happy Hour going around the hockey world. One last thing before we send this one on home, gentlemen. Do a quick penalty box. We haven't done one in a little while. Let's nominate a candidate real quick here. I'll start off because mine's serious. Hold on, Ted's saying, quick question: will we get a prediction show on the round robin games? Yeah, we'll start doing that next week. We'll get to those next week.
Yeah, that works out better for us because that way it's a week before the games actually start. So
yeah,
and that way I can actually get my real predictions down because I forget. I was thinking about it earlier. I was doing the lawn. I'm like, I don't even remember half of my predictions from the show. What was it? 2 weeks ago? Last week when we were doing the predictions.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking about the Rangers Kings. I'm like, who the hell did I even pick? So I'll get my real predictions next week.
All right. So with that, I'll start off. Mine's serious. Ubisoft is going into the penalty box, and video game company who create the Assassin's Creed games, they covered up major sex scandals going on in the company. Executives were pressuring female employees to have sex with them, and on multiple occasions this was covered up. Also, game developers who are female also had pressures as well. Employees have been bullied and intimidated by same executives who were male and female. Basically, it is a nasty scandal. Ubisoft's basically the head has come out and said he had no idea what was going on. That is BS. You knew exactly what was going on. You chose not to do anything about it. So because of that, Ubisoft, you get an absolute 110% ban for life for being an absolute piece of shit. Fuck you guys, and Assassin's Creed sucks anyway. Moving on.
You watch your mouth.
It's the same fucking thing every goddamn year. All right, moving on.
I love that game. You watch your mouth.
With that shot fired.
You can't sit here and say that the first couple were really good, and then Odyssey was amazing.
And
then I can't wait for Valhalla.
I'm not a big fan of it. All right,
it's repetitive. I know, I get it.
Next up, who wants to go? Daly, Pove, what you got for me on the penalty box?
You got something, Rob? Because I'm not quite ready yet. I'm still trying to think of one.
I do have a bone to pick, but that's for another day and for another time. So I'm going to go real quick with a story that I heard earlier today, and that's a particular tabloid that I won't mention. snuck photos of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's baby. And today they are suing over the photos for their son Archie for invasion of privacy, where they used a drone to take photos of their son.
Wow.
Good. They should.
I 100%. Oh, this is not with them. I'm not throwing the excommunicated member of Her Highness's royal family. It's these tabloids, and I mean, like, expect that you're going to be told no 96% of the time, and respect people's privacy. This is why people work hard, their whole life, and maybe this isn't the greatest example because one was a birthright, but Megan worked very hard in terms of her notoriety, her actress career or acting career.
Mhm.
And people work and then they finally achieve what they've always dreamt of, and it turns into a nightmare. You can't live a normal life because these tabloids. And speaking of the royal family, tabloids aren't really a popular topic when tabloids caused the crash that killed Princess Diana. So,
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm saying is that if you were to ask in a respectful manner and be like, look, let's present this, like, not because of the angle where we're trying to take a picture that makes Britney Spears look like she's 62 years old. You know what I mean? Where maybe clean up your act. I get it that doesn't sell, and I get it, but you look at, like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into mentioning particular tabloids over others because there's only one media conglomerate that you should be attuned to, and that's HED Radio. So
Yeah.
I'll just end it with that, and I'm giving him a game misconduct, and I think I'm being light in sentencing.
Unfortunately, though, Rob, that whole tabloid is. There's a specific term for it. I don't remember what it is, but I like to call it bullshit journalism.
Yeah,
Because they're doing it for money. Their bosses are going out and telling them, if you get a picture of this person, and this person doing this, this, and this, we're going to give you X amount of money. If you get a picture of Britney Spears getting out of a car and showing her cooter, we're going to give you 15 grand for that photo. It's bullshit journalism. Like, it's an easy way to make $1 for most of these people. And you know what? It sucks. But when you're a name and you're a celebrity of some form, unfortunately, it comes with the territory. But I think they're in the right to be suing, especially for how it was done.
That's absolutely terrible.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
But I will say this too. Have you ever just, for a moment, while you're getting like a Coke or whatever you're getting at a Wawa or what have you, if you look off to the side, you see the National Choir. Have you ever just read the headline for 1 second and just like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and you just start laughing on the inside? You don't want to come off as crazy because you're like, I'm just laughing at how stupid this is.
I do that in the supermarket. I don't do that in Wawa. I usually I go about my business and get out in Wawa as soon as I can.
Gotcha. All right.
Supermarket, I'm usually sitting in line waiting. I'm like, yeah, what do I got over here? Ooh, Selena Gomez on Vogue. Ooh, or something, something along those lines.
How you doing?
What?
How you doing?
What? A UFO lands in New Mexico. Freaking drops off Bigfoot. What? What?
What the what?
What the what? What is going on? Right. UFOs dropping off Bigfoot? That's not real.
I wish it was. It would have been awesome. But anyway, all right, Bri, what you got for the penalty box?
With the Kraken. What do I got? I mean, I guess I could use a. Oh, you know what? No, this is perfect. So, in the same day that the Kraken dropped their new team name, the Washington Redskins, I believe, decided to drop their new name. If that's what you even want to call it, because they're having a tough time trying to find a team name because some douchebag decided to copyright like 15 names. Decided to go with Washington Football Team until they can come up with a good team name.
Very inventive name, I must say. I give them high props for their marketing department there.
I mean, you've had how much time? You can't really come up with a name? Season starts in September.
I know.
We're almost to
Especially
training
since their
camp.
fan base has a name already. You know how like Cleveland has the dog
Yeah.
pound? Hogs.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be Washington Hogs,
Exactly.
or even if you don't want to go Hogs because it's not appealing, something of that ilk. You know,
No, absolutely, because you got the Hogettes, right? That's their
Yeah.
big. That's their big fan group up there. Is the Hogettes? I should say down there, not up there.
Why don't you just call yourself the freaking Senators or some shit like that? You're in Washington, so do something along that lines.
Well, they already got a team in. Oh, never mind. They had a team in Washington called the Senators. They're the Nationals now, but
see, if they would smart, they do one of two things, and maybe these were copyrighted. I don't know. I wasn't privy to that, but Washington Patriots. But
can they do
wait.
that with the New England Patriots?
No, that was a joke. That was a joke.
Okay, I was gonna say.
No. No, in regards.
Damn.
Yeah. No, this is my main point. My main point here is Washington, and then a name you don't have to disassociate from the Native American. Pick one that honors their legacy and heritage. You know, like why do you
True.
have to diverge? That's what I don't get. I don't know.
True.
Obvious
Maybe do
point,
like
but, yeah.
I saw a couple of names, but a couple of these names were already copyrighted. It was one of the names that they brought up was the Red Hawks. I think that would be a good way to. I believe they
Yeah.
were a real tribe.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good way to honor them. Is
Right.
calling them the Red Hawks or something along the lines.
You can call them the Warriors. You can call them.
I think that would be a good name too. Is the
I mean,
Warriors.
I don't think you can use Braves because Atlanta has that trademark, don't they?
I think you could still use it because the Giants. You got two different Giants teams in two different leagues, so
Right.
That's true.
I think you just need to split the trademark or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but
And by the
the Washington team name right now is that whole organization, especially with the sexual harassment scandal out on them right now. It's a hot mess of an organization right now. So
all I could say is don't applaud the owner either. Don't applaud him for changing the name because he's only changed this when the NFL forced him to.
I
So
don't think
let's
the NFL's forcing them to. I think it's the fan base and it's the NFL fan base as a whole that's really forcing him to.
and how many times has he refused to do it? So at this point, it's just like, you know what, dude, fuck you. You're changing it now after all this time of putting your back up to it. I'm like, you're only doing it because the fans are mad. That's the only reason why. You're a piece of shit. It's like, seriously.
It's the advertisers.
Yes.
Oh, that too. Them too. Yeah.
If FedEx pulls, they'd be donezo. Donezo. You might have to sell the team.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean they're trying to get him to sell the team now anyway, so
right?
aren't they?
Well, yeah,
The minority owners already want out.
yeah. I mean, you know, I was going to say it missed the whole sexual harassment scandals going on through that organization. It's just a mess.
It's an absolute mess. And to be honest with you, like they've been trying to get the Redskins to change their name for years, but think about it. They've been around since 1933. Like the only reason why it's such a big deal now is because of all the PC in the world, and then everything with the Black Lives Matter movement, which, you know, I won't get into that. That'll get me into some trouble. But it's just stand your ground. Like it's not they're not. I personally don't think they're doing it in a disrespectful manner. I think if it's disrespectful, it's the fact that they're not a successful team. I think that's the only part that's disrespectful. But
Yeah,
you know, I have Indian in my blood. You know, it's thick in my blood as well. Like especially if you go on my mom's father's side, you could just look. You could have looked at him and tell that he was Native American. So you know, I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but obviously, you know, it never bothered me. None of that stuff really bothers me. So you know, it is what it is. But you know, if they think they're doing the right thing, they're doing the right thing. So you know, it's all good. But you got to come up with the team name. You can't just be running with the Washington football team.
All right. So what would you give them?
Sad.
Would you give them 2 minutes for just wasting your time?
No, I'd give him a game misconduct and a 3-game suspension.
Damn. Okay, you came at them with fire for that. All right.
Like it's so dumb. Like you can't tell me you can't come up with a single team name that at this point in the year when you get ready to go into training camp in what, a week and a half? You don't have a team name? Stop it.
Going
You get
to
a you get a game misconduct and a 3-game suspension for that stupidity.
Well, if they sold the team and relocated
that dumpster fire of an organization.
If they sold the team and relocated it, you know what I call them? I call them the Washington Monuments because they're no longer actually a thing. Anyway, okay, so with that being said, we thank you all for joining us for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. Next week, we will be officially starting our predictions on the round robins and the qualifiers. We'll be doing them for realsies this time because we will have
going to be a part of it.
Yes, and Rob's all giddy like a schoolgirl. And
I haven't drunk enough for that.
He just saw John LeClaire. Give him a break. And with that being said, though, guys, we thank you all for joining us. For all of us here, I'm Massasoudi, the broken one, Rob Povia. Hopefully you found Gritty this week. And
behind the lamp, isn't he?
Yep. Right underneath the lamp next to the speaker. You got it. Challenging, though, right? It was challenging.
Yeah, I could barely see his head.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job hiding him this week.
Thank you,
and
thank you.
Mr. Daly, the Darkwing, Brian Daly. And we will say good night. This was brought to you by Ambuck Services. You want to get your gutters cleaned? You want to get your deck restored? You want to get those trees and bushes trimmed? All you got to do is mow the lawn afterwards. Ambuck Services, they're the guys to take care of you. You can give them a call at 856-879-5530. After you do all that, bring the neighbors over, have them envious, and tell them Ambuck Services did this for me, and it can do it for you. You see those on the Hair Club for Men commercials where this is what Hair Club did for me? Mine's a bad example. But if you...
Mine's worst.
But you know how they say, you did this to me, it could do it for you? That's what you'll be saying to Ambuck Services when your neighbors are looking at your deck just like, why don't I have this? My life sucks. Like, hey, man, your life can be better. All you got to do is call Ambuck Services. They'll get it done for you. Anyway, all right, guys. That'll do it for this edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We thank you all for joining us. We will see you next week right here on HUDRadio.com. Until then, though, folks, stay safe, stay healthy. Please wear your masks.
Mask up, people.
Yes, and if you do feel like taking an extra precaution, wear some gloves. Until then, guys,
you don't need to do that. That does you no good.
I said if you want to. It's your choice. Until then, guys, we'll see you next week right here on HUDRadio.com. Peace, everyone.